2024. This is the Committee of Precinct Chairs at Town Hall, the Great Hall Meeting Room on Court Street. We have members in attendance, and we also have members online. I call this meeting to order, and as we traditionally do, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We will run through the roll because we are hybrid. I'll start with Precinct 1.
Christine Pratt, Precinct 1.
Precinct 2, Matt Tavares. Precinct 3.
Dale Weber, Precinct 3, where it all began.
Precinct 4.
Precinct 4, Claire Montanari.
Precinct 5.
Misty Newton, Vice Chair, stepping in for Mike Leary.
Precinct 6. Absent. Precinct 7.
Precinct 7, George Brown.
Precinct 8.
Precinct 8, George McKay.
Precinct 9. Absent. Precinct 10.
Precinct 10, Alan Costello.
Thank you, Alan. Precinct 11.
Precinct 11, Frank O'Brien.
Precinct 12.
Precinct 12, Pat Adelman.
Precinct 13. Absent. Precinct 14.
Precinct 14, Tom Begley.
Precinct 15.
Precinct 15, where it continues, Wrestling Brewster.
Precinct 16.
Precinct 16, Pompey Delafield.
Precinct 17. Absent. Precinct 18.
Precinct 18, Carmen Lefrieri in the middle of it all.
All right, thank you. We do have a quorum. So the first item on the agenda, thank you, Pat Alleman, for doing our minutes, is to approve our minutes for September 19th, 2024.
Second.
Motion to move them was by Pompey Delafield, seconded by Wrestling Brewster, and we'll go through the vote. Precinct 1.
Approve.
Precinct 2, approved. Precinct 3.
Approved.
Precinct 4.
Approve.
Precinct 5.
Abstain.
Precinct 6, still absent. Precinct 7.
Precinct 7, approved.
Precinct 8.
Abstain.
Precinct 9, absent. Precinct 10.
Precinct 10, yes.
Precinct 11.
Precinct 11, approved.
Precinct 12.
Yes.
Precinct 13, still absent. Precinct 14.
Yes.
Precinct 15.
Precinct 15, accept.
Precinct 16.
Accept.
Precinct 17, absent. Precinct 18.
Precinct 18, approved.
Okay, great. Thank you, and thank you again, Pat. Up first and second, we're going to have Lynn Barrett, the Director of Finance, to discuss Articles 7 and 18, which you all should have in your packets, or if you did receive the town meeting book, you'll already have it in your hands through the mail. Go ahead, the floor is yours.
Yep, so Lynn Barrett, Director of Finance. So Article 7 in your books, it starts on page 35. The warrant article is something that we do on an annual basis. It's in accordance with our financial management policies where we budget so much for motor vehicle excise in the general fund to pay for operations of the general fund, but anything in excess of that, we transfer into this pavement management stabilization fund. And this fund pays for the principal and interest that's associated with the road management plan. But at least for right now, 3 articles that have been voted at town meeting over the past so many years. We've funded so far $15 million in 3 phases, and this money pays for the principal and interest of that program.
Okay, I think we're all pretty familiar with this article. We see it a lot, but I'll open the floor to any questions from the chairs. Not seeing any here or online. Thank you, Lynn. I guess we can move on to Article 18, please.
Yeah, so Article 18, I think in attendance tonight is our treasurer-collector, Ms. Patty Meechan. She's here, so she's actually going to present Article 18 for you, and if there are any questions, she and/or I can help answer them.
Okay, great. Patty, the floor is yours, or the Zoom is yours.
Good evening. I'm Patricia Meechan, Treasurer Collector. I've previously gone before the Select Board and Advisory and Finance to authorize me as the Treasurer, custodian of the Town Trust Fund, to invest and reinvest in accordance with the prudent investor rule. I'm looking to bring to fall town meeting to have a vote to accept a recent provision made to the law, Mass General Law 203C, that would allow cities and towns to adopt a local option for flexibility and further diversification of investments. Currently, we are allowed to invest according to the Mass Legal List, which is a list of 22 names of stocks, which is comprised of consumer staples, healthcare, utilities, and industrials. The only tech stock that we're currently allowed to invest in is Hewlett-Packard. So this provision would allow us to invest in additional tech stocks and energy. The only accounts that this would affect would be the perpetual care and the scholarship funds. This would not apply to any stabilization funds or any other funds that are funded by taxpayer dollars. Adopting this local option doesn't mean that we're required to, but it gives us the option and flexibility to do so. And so I would also like to just inform you that it is the recommendation of our investment management group. And as I said, we went before the Board of Selectmen and Advisory of Finance, and they have approved it.
Okay, thank you for that. I'd like to open it up to the Committee of Precinct chairs, so if there are any questions online or within the room. Okay, we're doing great so far, so thank you very much for attending this evening via Zoom. I appreciate it, and we'll see you October 19th, I'm sure. So thank you so much, and thank you, Lynn, for taking some time this evening. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, moving right along ahead of schedule, which I'm sure will please Mr. Hartman. We're going to move on to Article 15, Title V Repair Fund.
Thank you. Lee Hartman, Director of Planning and Development for the Town of Plymouth. This is the 16th time we'll be doing this before town meeting. So what we do is we go to the state's SRF, State Revolving Fund from DEP, and we borrow money from the state and in turn make that available to property owners to upgrade their failed septic systems. So this is for failed septic systems. It's not for resale. So if you're selling your house and you have a system that has to get upgraded, we will not cover that. This is for property owners who have a failed system who need to fix it, or if they choose to tie into the town sewer system, it's available, that money is available. So we borrow it from the state at 2%. We loan it out at 5%. We have a 3% administrative cost. That covers the cost of what it takes for us to borrow the money and the cost to manage the program. So again, this year we're looking for $400,000, and we're averaging about $25,000 a loan that we give out, and we're down to about 6 loans available with the money we have now. So we need to have another group of money authorized so we can continue the program. And I think that's pretty much it. I'd just say it's unanimously supported by the Select Board and the Advisory and Finance Committee, too.
Are there any questions regarding Article 15? Mr. LaFrere.
Thank you, Mr. Hartman. Could you tell the audience what qualifies the people to, or the recipients for the loan? There's really no qualifications. So I could apply? Own a home and not be selling it. This is really about repairing failed systems that are damaging our environment. So there's no income limit. This is assessed to your tax bill, so we don't check your credit. It just goes onto your tax bill, just like any other assessment. So they really are, the only thing is, again, we try to limit the amount of money we loan out to $25,000, but we can go higher if needed too. I would also point out that the Office of Community Development through my department also has a separate set of money available through Community Development Block Grant federal money. So if you even have families who have low income, we can make money available to them either as a grant, or we could also make it available at 0% interest payable only when they go to sell the house. So there's a second program out there above and beyond this one. But again, this is used quite a bit, and it's a great way so that you don't have to refinance, you don't have to try to get an equity loan, you can just come on in and we have a person on staff who will work you through with the engineers to do all the permitting and make sure that the work is getting done properly. So again, great program that the town has.
Follow up.
Yep. Go ahead.
Thank you for that. So the second program you mentioned was for low income.
Mm-hmm.
There's no income requirements for the first?
For this one, nope.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Weber?
I don't want to let Mr. Hartman go. There's a question that I think is related, but it might not be. You mentioned that this could also be used to help people get onto the town system in the event that they have a desire to do so, or a failed system?
A failed system.
Okay.
Although I wouldn't rule out the fact we haven't had it yet, but if somebody came in and said we have a septic system and it's not failed, but we'd like to tie into the sewer, I think we'd do that. We haven't run into that, but I see no reason why we couldn't do that.
Okay. And a follow-up to that would be, is there a mandatory protocol now for anyone building a house on the sewer system that they must tie in?
I don't know, that's not.
Okay, all right. I think here's my related question, if I might, Mr. Chair, and that's, we're going to be discussing under Article 9 of the Community Preservation Committee, a building 24-unit affordable housing on the corner of South Street and Brayley Lane, that there's a house that's going to be demolished on that piece of property, and that I would consider that house to be fairly recently built, but it has a private septic system, and I'm wondering how, with a sewer main right out in front of that house wasn't tied in to that. Any comment on that?
I have no idea.
Got it. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. Anyone else? About how many loans do you see a year?
So we've
approximately?
done 310 already to date, but we see about
In a year, in this year?
5 to 8 a year.
Yeah, oh, 5 to 8 a year,
And
okay.
at 25,000
Yeah.
a pop.
Yep, sure.
It's 200,000, 200 and, 300,000 a
Right.
year that can go.
Gotcha, okay. Thank you. Seeing no further questions on Article 15, moving right along, Mr. Hartman, to Article 16, the zoning bylaw, the village open space development amendments that you have. And I
Thank
see
you.
you have a presentation as well.
Yeah, it's very short. But,
Okay.
so this came to us and the, a representative of the property owner is here, Attorney Galvin. So this came to us from a property owner who has some property, and we'll go through that, in North Plymouth, who is seeking to do something with the property, but the current bylaw, the way it's written in the waterfront district, is a little bit of a challenge. So again, as you mentioned, the proposal here is to take and add the waterfront district to the uses where you can do what we call a VOSD, Village Open Space, Village Open Space Development, Village Open Space Development, VOSD. And so, first I
We'll
want to
just go with VOSD for you. If
just want to go through and show you the district. So this is Court Street down to Main Street. This is Summer Street. So we have Town Brook right here. This is, well, Plymouth Rock is over here, and Plymouth Rock is right here. So we have the waterfront district off of Union Street, which is the marina, the yacht club, and then areas on Stevens Field. So mostly all developed already, but this is, again, the waterfront district we're talking about. The next one is the Burts and the Pilgrim Sands Hotel, just those two properties only off of Warren Ave. And the last one, which we'll talk about here, is the property that starts at Hedge Road. So this is Hedge Road here. So we have Cottage Park here, Hedge Road. The rail trail pretty much defines the outer limit of it. And so we're going down along North Plymouth over to Nelson Field, and then we're into the waterfront district where we have the Town Wharf, East Bay Grill, the Copper Cove development, and then off of Lothrop Street, Cold Spring Club, as well as the Jesse Marine. So what we have and what we're looking at is this piece of property, which is off of Atlantic Ave. So we have Atlantic Ave that comes here. We have a couple of existing homes, and then this rather large piece of undeveloped property right there. And as we look at it, there are kind of two options right now. You either do single-family homes, or you do what you've seen next door here, which is a higher density multifamily development. We have that here. We also have it here off of Atlantic Ave. And if we look a little farther south, we have the Robbins Wharf higher density. So as we were looking at this property, and it has some challenges to develop, we thought, well, a village open space development is a great option. So it's two things. Your density of development is 2 units per acre. So 20,000 square foot minimum size or density. You can have smaller lots, but 2 units per acre. The multifamily that's already allowed that could happen if this, say, was combined with the abutting piece is 7 units per acre. So we're at a much lower density, and the VOSD bylaw says that whatever you do on this property, 40% of it has to be set aside as open space. So as we looked at this, and the planning board had some concerns about, well, are we doing this just for one property? But again, if the Cold Spring, the Jesse Marine, if any of those properties ever happen to be developed, this is a great alternative to be a little flexible with zoning, but also have a much lower density than to say to everybody, here's your option, which is 7 units per acre and multifamily. So we think this is a really good alternative. It provides some flexibility, and they've already indicated that if this gets approved and if they get their special permit, 2 stops here, that they are willing to take the open space and donate it to the town. And again, as an open vista right off of the rail trail, I think it would be great. First step is a town meeting approval. The second would be that they have to go to the planning board for a special permit, 4 out of 5 members to do that. So again, we're very early into this, but again, I think allowing for this type of development, creating open space as part of the development, giving somebody an alternative to the higher density makes a lot of sense. And with that, I would just again mention that this was supported unanimously by the Planning Board, Select Board, and Advisory Finance Committee. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hartman. I will open this up to the chairs.
I'm sorry, I didn't last slide. It's just a little better view of the property itself.
Thank you. Any questions either online or in the room? Okay, great job.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you for taking time out this evening, Mr. Hartman. All right, moving right along to the last article that we'll be looking at this evening, Article 8, to amend the Wetlands Protection Bylaw, the vernal pools. Mr. Morrison, if you want to come on up. And I understand, hopefully everybody received the additional information that was passed on to me by Mr. Morrison. I sent in your email packets as well. So welcome.
Thank you. I didn't realize I could get through so quickly. It's great.
I'm glad you were here. Thank you.
Article 8, first of all, I'm Vice Chair of the Conservation Commission. I got assigned this duty to represent tonight. It's kind of like a housekeeping exercise because for many years, we did have we acted as though we had a 200-foot buffer to vernal pools, and we behaved that way, but it came up this last year that indeed we're kind of out of line because the bylaws, things weren't together. In other words, our Wetlands Protection Bylaw that was passed in 1989, starting from there, the bylaw established 100-foot protective zones for all water areas. All areas, our jurisdiction of conservation was within 100 foot of water. When the rules and regulations were adopted in the state, it was also 100 foot. But they did suggest a 200-foot buffer as a protective zone. We had an engineer that came in and he said our rules and regs didn't match the bylaw, so at the advice of town council, we had an earlier vote, we had to back down to 100 foot. Now we're coming in front of you and saying, hey, we want to get it done right and get back to the 200 foot. Some of the justification as to why to go to 200 foot, I had sent you the Army Corps of Engineers, the BMPs. I know it's a little bit confusing, but the idea is to make everybody aware that that there are protected species or species that we should be protecting closer to vernal pools, and it isn't only the vernal pool, other areas are needed within the landscape to protect those species. Another, not that it's a reason why we have to do it, but neighboring us is Cape Cod, obviously. Geologically, they're the same as we are. They have a 350-foot buffer for all the towns in the Cape at this point, and we're only asking to go back to the 200 where we've been in the past. That basically sums it up.
Okay.
If there's any questions, happy to try to answer it.
Sure. Thank you very much. I'm going to look around the room and online here for any questions. Mr. Delafield and then Mr. Brown.
Yeah, my only question is, should we be going for more? Why are they so much more than we are? And are you planning to come back at another time?
It was felt by staff that we should only ask to 200 foot where we've been and where we've been accustomed, because obviously it does expand the area out going to 350. And we felt it very important to get to the 200 as initial starting point. I mean, if everybody agreed that it should go to 350, you wouldn't catch me saying, oh, please don't do that. It was more of this was a starting point. They felt that it would easily be accepted by town meeting, and that's the reason why we selected that 200.
Thank you. Mr. Brown?
Mr. Morrison, do we have an idea of how many vernal pools we actually have in the town of Plymouth?
Certified vernal pools. This is the other tricky part. There's also, I know there are other vernal pools that haven't been certified, but certified vernal pools, there's 49.
49 certified. I realize there's probably many we haven't found yet.
Or haven't gone through the certification process. If anybody here is interested in understanding what the certification process is, it's rather unique. You have to go, basically, volunteers will submit documentation through Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program. They'll review it, and that's the certification process. Natural Heritage is part of Fish and Game, so it's a little bit, it involves both citizen action and the state to get the certification.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, you're welcome.
Are the ones that we do know about certified, does that usually come through kind of like a purchase and sale of a home through a survey, or how have we, I'm kind of thinking
in
about.
the past, how has it come?
Yeah.
Both, usually from when a project comes up, and say it's a new piece of property, and a big piece of property, and there's not that many left in town, but there are some, engineering going out and surveying it will indicate a wetland. Just because you find that what you suspect is a vernal pool doesn't make it a vernal pool. Vernal pools have very distinct qualifications. The main part being there's no fish in it because it has to dry out for a period during the year. That allows certain other amphibians to be able to develop there, whereas if there was a fish population, it would take them out. So it's kind of specific, kind of unique. Most of the species that they talk about in why to protect a vernal pool are unique and need that specific habitat. Usually also, and if you read through the Army Corps of Engineers BMPs that I sent to you, you can see that it requires more habitats going around. If you ask, is there a problem with going to a bigger area? No, it just requires more creativity from the engineer in terms of saying, all right, what species are being protected here, and what are the areas needed to be protected? Because the Conservation Commission still has the ability to take an engineer's recommendation and make it work for what they're trying to protect. So in other words, does it automatically mean that nothing can happen within 350 feet of a vernal pool? No, it doesn't.
And I think that's where I'm kind of going with this, because we have 100 feet for wetlands.
Right.
And then this will be, say you were from your home 100 feet to the wetlands, so you know you can't really do anything in that area. I guess my question is, has it been thought about, I'm thinking about South Plymouth, Manamet areas, a lot of
Right.
like the septic areas, by then going 200, they could be closer to a vernal pool than they thought they were because of the, how do they handle that? I mean, we were just talking about septics and them failing, and if somebody needed to go kind of redo their septic and they're within this 200 feet of a vernal pool, where does that leave us?
Right, all right, first of all, at least in Conservation Commission, from my time there, and I'm in my second year at this point, we always give priority, and I'm thinking now this is away from the center of town where we do not have an active sewer, town sewer. We give priority and allow more to happen just to get rid of the cesspools. The cesspools are the problem to all the ponds in town. We're trying to protect, that's our main focus, protect the water in the ponds in this town. And so there are other creative ways that can be done for helping to protect them. But the first thing is get rid of the cesspool and get it as far away from the pond or the water source as possible. And sometimes we have to allow it due to constraints within the existing lots that they can't get far enough, so we still will make an exception and allow it. Sometimes we have a severe situation and we'll use, I think a lot of people have been to the end of Long Pond where the boat ramp is. And there's some cottages there that, in some years they're in the water and some years they're out of the water, and the lots are very small. In those situations, we'll demand a tight tank. In other words, there's no way you're gonna get a working septic system into the groundwater there. So it all depends upon what the situation is.
Okay. Thank you for the education on that. I appreciate that. Are there any questions online or in the room? Okay, not seeing any. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time this evening.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
All right. And moving at this breakneck speed, I'm very proud of everyone right now. I'm sorry I asked questions and kept you here longer. At this point, I'd like to ask if there's any new business before the COPC. Mr. Weber.
Yes, I had a question. Didn't know if there was anyone online or here that was willing to speak to clarify the supplement number 1 that we received today by email to the Advisory and Finance Committee recommendations.
I also received that today and wasn't really sure what I was looking at, to be honest with you. So I will see if I can reach out. We do have our normal, regularly scheduled meeting next Thursday. Hopefully I can get answer before then. But worst case, hopefully I can get somebody in here next Thursday. I realize it's only 2 days before town meeting, but I will ask for clarification on that, Mr. Weber, and get that to all the chairs, if that works.
It does.
Okay.
I'd like to hear from the, whoever's moving this. It looks like it's the finance committee.
Right, and I can
I'm
reach-
sorry, I was
Yep.
muted.
No, go ahead.
It looks like the
You can-
finance
yep.
committee is moving it, so I'd just like to know, is it reverting back to the original language that they took no motion, no action on? This has to do with attendance at any town committee meeting, lowering it from 50% attendance criteria to 30%. So I'm wondering if that's what this is.
Yeah,
Or is it amended? But
like I said, I saw
Thank
it
you.
pretty much walking in here, but I can reach out to Mr. Neerman and see if we can get a clarification for that, and I'll definitely get that out to you, or to all, excuse me. Any other new business? Oh, Mr. Costello, I'm sorry, I just saw your hand online. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was hoping maybe to shed some light on Mr. Weber's question. I can get a more formal answer for the next meeting, but the reason you got that supplement today was that there was a typo in the article. We, to his point, the committee, the Charter Review Committee, made a more stringent percentage of meetings we were asking committee members to make. We had moved it, and our hopes was to 70% instead of a 50% attendance record. We were hoping to move it to 70. We did it backwards, and we went to 30%, and it did not get picked up prior to going in front of advisory and finance. So they opted not to vote on it because of the typographical error. And we, as the Charter Review Committee, did not get back in front of them in time to make the book. But it's been deemed just a typographical error. So the article will go forward. But if that answer is not sufficient, I'll get a more satisfactory answer for our next meeting.
Mr. Weber, do you have a follow-up on that,
I don't. I think I understand Mr. Costello's intention of the article was to get you that you would attend more meetings, not less, and I appreciate that, if that's what I'm hearing.
That's exactly right, and we just didn't pick up on it when we did the final draft for submission. We went the wrong way and did 30%, which makes it a little bit more lax, which was not what our intent was. The problem we had is I didn't schedule to get back in front of FinCom prior to the book, so that's sort of on the management of the Charter Review Committee. That's why that had a little hiccup, but it should be all straightened out now and deemed just a typographical error.
Thank you, Mr. Costello, and thank you for you and your committee's work on that, and I'm glad you caught that. So if the chairs feel that was a sufficient answer, I think I'm just going to go with that and not load any more emails into everybody that I already do. So, okay. Any other new business? Seeing none. Any old business? Okay, moving right along to public comment about 40 minutes before I was expecting it, so this is great. There is no one here in the room, so anyone online? Not seeing any online. I'm just going to run through a couple of quick dates for you that I was asked by the town moderator and the assistant town moderator to run through. Thursday, October 10th is the preview night at 6 p.m. at Town Hall. Friday, October 11th, by the end of the business day, which at Town Hall, that is noon. It's the deadline to register for remote participation. So if you need to participate in town meeting remotely, you need to have that request in by October 11th, and bolded, underlined, and flashing at me says no exceptions. That date of October the 11th at noon is also the deadline to submit any charter amendments, as we saw per the assistant town moderator. That's when they need those bys. On Tuesday, October 15th, if you participated remotely, you should expect to see your credentials issued to you. Thursday, October 17th, is the COPC meeting at 7 p.m., our final one before town meeting, but it's also the cutoff for the motions book and submission of presentations and videos that weren't produced by the local scene, formerly known as PAC TV. And then, of course, the Super Bowl, Saturday, October 19th, town meeting, 8 a.m., Plymouth North High School. And the adjourn session is planned to be Monday, October 21st at 6 p.m. at Plymouth North High School. One last announcement. I have a couple of topic items for next week, and I'd also like to let the chairs know that if there's anything that they would like to elaborate on, any of the articles that we've discussed in these last 3 meetings or so, let me know, preferably by Thursday of this week, so I can line up anyone that needs to answer questions in person. If there's any topics that a chair would like to speak about, I'll entertain that as well, and I'll give you, 5-10 minutes depending on the topic. From there, we'll go right into town meeting. Unfortunately, I won't be here next week, so Mr. Brewster, it'll be your show. But other than that, that is all I have, so I'd entertain a motion to adjourn unless there's any other business.
Motion to adjourn.
Mr.
I
Brewster
second.
motions it. Mr. Brown seconds it. All those in favor?
Fastest meeting.
All right, seeing a raise of hands online and in the room, thank you all, and we'll see you next Thursday.